The massive doors of Galactic Academy slid open with a soft hiss, and Kira rolled through in her sleek hoverchair. The hallway stretched out before her like something from a dream. Bioluminescent panels lined the walls, casting everything in a soft blue glow. Students of every imaginable species moved between classes. Some had scales, others had fur, and a few looked like they were made of living crystal. Kira belonged to the last group. The Valari were known throughout the galaxy as artists and philosophers, but also for being incredibly fragile. Her bones were crystalline, beautiful to look at but prone to fracturing under normal gravity. That's why she needed the hoverchair. Without it, she'd be stuck crawling, and even that would slowly damage her body from the inside out. She'd earned her spot here through a scholarship. Her artwork had impressed the judges, paintings that seemed to capture light itself. But now, sitting in these alien corridors surrounded by species that could bench press starships, she felt very small. The other students stared as she passed. She was used to that. What worried her more were the looks from a particular group lounging near the water fountains. 5 Krathan students, each one built like a tank with scales and muscle. Their species had conquered half their solar system before they were even invited to join the galactic community. Warriors, every single one of them. The largest Krathan, a beast named Vex, watched her with cold reptilian eyes. He said something to his friends, and they all laughed. Kira kept moving, trying to ignore the knot forming in her stomach. Her first few classes went smoothly enough. The teachers were professional, and most students were too focused on their own work to bother her. She started to relax. Maybe this wouldn't be so bad after all. That hope died when she returned to the hallway after 4th period. Her hoverchair was gone. Just gone. She'd parked it right outside the classroom like everyone else parked their mobility aids. Now there was just empty space. Kira felt panic rising in her chest. She couldn't walk far without risking injury. The crystalline structure of her bones meant every step created tiny fractures. Too many fractures, and she'd be bedridden for weeks while they healed. She looked around desperately. Down the hall, she spotted Vex and his crew. They were watching her, barely containing their laughter. One of them made a pushing motion with his hands. They'd done this. They'd hidden her chair. It took her an hour to find it. They'd shoved it into a maintenance closet 3 floors down. By the time she retrieved it, she'd missed 2 classes and her legs were sending sharp pain signals through her body. Her skin flickered with a faint purple light, the Valari equivalent of wincing. She reported it to the administration. The Krathan vice principal listened with barely concealed boredom. Young lady, learning to adapt is part of the educational experience. Perhaps this is an opportunity for growth. Kira wanted to scream. How was stealing her wheelchair a learning opportunity? Across the cafeteria that same day, a human student named Tyler Bennett sat with his lunch tray, watching the whole situation unfold. He'd seen the Krathans laughing. He'd noticed Kira limping back with her chair. And he'd definitely caught the administration's brush off. Tyler was one of only 30 humans at Galactic Academy. Earth had just joined the galactic community 5 years ago, and humanity was still trying to figure out where they fit. They weren't the strongest species. Not the smartest. Not the fastest or toughest. They were just kind of middle of the road in everything. Most aliens viewed humans as curiosities. Some warrior races thought they were too weak. Some peaceful species thought they were too aggressive. Humans couldn't win. But Tyler had learned something growing up in Colorado. Sometimes you don't need to be the best at anything. You just need to not quit. The harassment continued over the next 2 weeks. Every single day, Kira's wheelchair disappeared. Sometimes they'd damage it. Other times they'd hide it in increasingly difficult places. Once, they threw it off a 3rd-floor balcony. The school did nothing. Other students pretended not to notice. Getting involved meant becoming the next target, and nobody wanted that. Kira's grades started slipping. She missed classes constantly. The medical bay knew her by name. Her skin's purple pain flickers became almost constant. She started wondering if maybe she should just quit, go back home where at least the gravity was manageable. Tyler watched all of this, and something inside him reached a breaking point. His parents had raised him with a simple rule: if you see something wrong and do nothing, you're part of the problem. On a Tuesday morning, Tyler made a decision. When Kira discovered her wheelchair missing again, he was going to do something about it. Something the Krathans wouldn't expect. Something very human. He didn't know it yet, but that decision was about to change everything at Galactic Academy. Tuesday morning started like all the others. Kira wheeled herself to her first class, parked her hoverchair outside the door, and went in. When she came out 20 minutes later, it was gone again. She stood there in the hallway, feeling that familiar wave of dread wash over her. Her legs were already aching from yesterday. The microfractures in her crystalline bones hadn't fully healed. Every day this happened, the damage accumulated. Pretty soon she wouldn't be able to walk at all, even short distances. She looked down the corridor and saw them. Vex and his crew, leaning against the walls with those smug grins on their reptilian faces. One of them was tossing something small between his hands. It looked like a piece of her chair's control mechanism. Kira felt tears burning behind her eyes but refused to let them fall. She wouldn't give them the satisfaction. That's when she heard footsteps behind her. Heavy, deliberate footsteps. Hey. She turned and found herself looking at a human. She'd seen him around campus. Tyler something. He was tall for his species, with dark hair and an expression that seemed too serious for someone so young. They took it again? Tyler asked, though it wasn't really a question. Kira nodded, not trusting her voice. Tyler glanced at the Krathens, then back at her. He did something she didn't expect. He knelt down and turned his back to her. Come on, he said. Kira stared at him, confused. What are you doing? I'm giving you a ride to class. Hop on. I can't ask you to do that. It's too far. I'll be too heavy. And they'll just make fun of you too. Tyler looked over his shoulder at her. First, you're not asking. I'm offering. Second, you probably weigh like 100 pounds. I used to carry my little brother around all the time and he was heavier. Third, let them make fun. I honestly don't care what those oversized lizards think. Down the hall, the Krathens were watching now, curious about what was happening. Kira hesitated. This was humiliating. But her legs were already trembling, and she had 3 more classes today. She didn't have much choice. She climbed onto Tyler's back, wrapping her arms carefully around his shoulders. He stood up easily, like she weighed nothing at all. And then he just started walking. Where's your next class? He asked casually, like this was the most normal thing in the world. Building C, 3rd floor, Kira said quietly. Got it. As they passed the Krathens, Vex stepped forward, blocking their path. What's this? The human wants to be a pack animal. Tyler stopped but didn't set Kira down. I'm helping someone who needs help. You should try it sometime. Might make you feel like less of a jerk. Vex's eyes narrowed. You dare insult me? I'm not insulting you. I'm accurately describing you. There's a difference. Tyler stepped around him and kept walking. Behind them, the Krathens erupted in angry hisses, but they didn't follow. They seemed genuinely confused about how to respond. Tyler carried Kira up 3 flights of stairs without even breathing hard. She could feel the steady rhythm of his steps, the way his breathing stayed controlled and even. When they reached her classroom, he carefully lowered her to the ground. I'll be back when class is over, he said. You really don't have to do this. Yeah, I know. But I'm going to anyway. See you in 40 minutes. He was true to his word. When class ended, Tyler was waiting outside. He knelt down, she climbed on, and they headed to her next class. Then the next. Then the next. By lunchtime, half the school was talking about it. The human who was carrying the Valari girl everywhere. Some students thought it was sweet. Others thought it was pathetic. The Krathens thought it was hilarious. In the cafeteria, Kira finally asked the question that had been bothering her all morning. Why are you doing this? Tyler took a bite of his sandwich and thought about it. You know what's funny about humans? We're not special. Like, at all. There are species stronger than us, smarter than us, faster than us. We're pretty average at basically everything. That doesn't answer my question. I'm getting there, Tyler said with a slight smile. The thing is, back on Earth, we had these persistence hunters. Ancient humans who would chase prey for hours and hours until the animal literally collapsed from exhaustion. We're not fast sprinters, but we can keep going basically forever. It's how we survived as a species. We just don't quit. He looked at her directly. Those bullies think they can break you by making every day harder. They think eventually you'll just give up and leave. But if you don't quit, and I don't quit, then they lose. Simple as that. Kira felt something warm spreading through her chest. Hope, maybe. Or just the strange realization that she wasn't alone anymore. Plus, Tyler added, my mom would kill me if she found out I watched someone get bullied and did nothing. She raised me better than that. The next day, the Krathens hid the wheelchair again. Tyler was waiting. Kira climbed on his back, and they went to class. The day after that, same thing. And the day after that. By the end of the week, it had become routine. The Krathens kept escalating, hiding the chair in more difficult places. They damaged the hover mechanisms. They threw it in a garbage compactor once. It didn't matter. Tyler just kept showing up. Some students started whispering that it was romantic. Others thought the human was just stupid. A few began to look at the situation differently, though. They started noticing the contrast between Vex's crew, who spent their energy making someone miserable, and Tyler, who spent his energy helping. One afternoon, a girl from Tyler's homeworld approached them. Her name was Ashley, and she'd been watching from a distance. "Mind if I sit with you guys?" she asked. Tyler shrugged. "Free galaxy." Ashley sat down and opened her lunch. "What you're doing is pretty cool," she said to Tyler. "I'm just helping someone get to class." "Yeah, but you're doing it when nobody else will. That takes guts." More students began drifting toward their table over the following days. Not many, but enough to notice. A Terrellian engineering student offered to help repair the wheelchair. A shy Severian started helping search for it when it went missing. The social dynamic was shifting, slowly but surely. And the Krathens noticed. Vex wasn't laughing anymore. He was getting angry. 3 weeks had passed since Tyler started carrying Kira to class. What began as a simple act of kindness had become something the entire academy couldn't stop talking about. Every morning, without fail, Tyler would be there waiting when Kira's wheelchair inevitably went missing. The Krathens were getting more creative with their cruelty. One morning, they disassembled the hoverchair completely and scattered the parts across 4 different buildings. Another time, they programmed it to zoom around the hallways at full speed, crashing into walls until the battery died. They once even managed to get it onto the roof of the administration building. None of it mattered. Tyler would show up, Kira would climb onto his back, and they'd head to class. Sometimes they'd spend lunch break hunting for the wheelchair pieces. Other times, Tyler's friends from Earth would help with the search. The remarkable thing was that Tyler never seemed tired. Other species would have collapsed after a day or two of carrying someone around campus. But humans, Kira was learning, were built differently. Tyler could carry her up 5 flights of stairs and barely break a sweat. His breathing would stay steady, his pace consistent. "It's really weird how you can just keep going," Kira mentioned one afternoon as they climbed yet another staircase. Tyler laughed. "Back home, my track coach used to say humans are like diesel engines. We're not fast, but we'll run forever. There are these races called ultramarathons where people run for like 100 miles straight. Some guy once ran for 3 days without stopping." "That sounds horrible." "Oh, it definitely is. But it proves a point. Humans are stubborn. We evolved to chase down prey by just following it until it died from exhaustion. We'd literally walk animals to death." Kira shivered. "That's actually terrifying when you put it that way." "Yeah, Earth was kind of a nightmare planet. Everything there tried to kill us, so we had to get creative to survive." Their daily routine was attracting more attention now. Not just whispers in the hallway, but actual shifts in how students interacted. A Valari senior that Kira had never spoken to stopped her one day to ask if she was okay. 2 human freshmen started walking with Tyler between classes, forming an unofficial escort. Even some of the teachers were taking notice. But not everyone was happy about it. The Krathens were getting increasingly frustrated. Their entire culture was built around dominance and strength. In their society, the strong ruled and the weak submitted. That was the natural order. What Tyler was doing didn't fit their worldview. He wasn't fighting them. He wasn't submitting either. He was just working around them. Vex couldn't stand it. Every time he saw that human carrying the Valari girl, something inside him burned with anger. Where was the confrontation? Where was the fear? The human should be terrified of him, but instead, Tyler would just nod politely and keep walking. One day, Vex decided to confront them directly. He waited until Tyler was carrying Kira through the main courtyard, where hundreds of students could see. "Human." Vex's voice boomed across the open space. Tyler stopped and turned. "Yeah? You make a mockery of strength. You debase yourself by serving the weak." Tyler adjusted his grip slightly, making sure Kira was comfortable. "I'm not serving anyone. I'm helping a friend get to class. Pretty basic stuff. Among the Krathen, only slaves carry others." "Well, it's a good thing I'm not Krathen then." Tyler started to walk away. Vex moved to block his path. "You dishonor yourself and your species with this pathetic display." Something shifted in Tyler's expression. He carefully set Kira down on a nearby bench, making sure she was stable. Then he turned back to Vex, and when he spoke, his voice was calm but cold. Let me explain something to you about humans. We come from a planet where literally everything wants to kill us. Predators, diseases, weather, other humans, you name it. We survived by working together. By helping each other. The strongest human societies weren't the ones where everyone fought each other. They were the ones where people looked out for each other. Vex sneered. Weakness masquerading as virtue. Call it whatever you want. But here's what I know. Every single day, you and your crew spend your energy making someone's life worse. I spend mine making someone's life better. At the end of the day, Kira gets to her classes and keeps chasing her dreams. What do you get? The satisfaction of being a bully? Congratulations. I'm sure your ancestors are really proud. The courtyard had gone silent. Students from every species watched the confrontation. Some of the Krathens looked uncomfortable. Their own culture valued honor in combat, and there was nothing honorable about what Vex's crew had been doing. Vex's tail lashed angrily. You dare lecture me about honor? I'm not lecturing you about honor. I don't think you'd understand it if I tried. Tyler walked back to Kira. Ready to go? She nodded, climbing back onto his back. As they left, the crowd parted silently. Behind them, Vex stood frozen, his reputation cracking in front of everyone. But the Krathens weren't done. If anything, the public confrontation made things worse. They started targeting other students who associated with Tyler and Kira. The human freshmen who walked with them found their belongings vandalized. Ashley, the girl who'd started sitting with them at lunch, had her project sabotaged. The bullies were sending a message: anyone who sided with the humans would suffer. Some students backed off, scared. But others got angry. A Torellian engineer named Zek started openly repairing Kira's wheelchair in the courtyard, daring the Krathens to stop him. A few brave souls began sitting at Tyler's lunch table despite the intimidation. The academy was splitting into factions. On one side, those who believed might made right. On the other, those who thought Vex's crew had gone too far. The administration finally called a meeting. Tyler, Kira, and Vex were all summoned to the principal's office. The principal was a dignified Severian, a species known for their diplomatic skills. This situation has become disruptive, the principal said. Vex, there have been multiple reports of harassment. Vex gestured dismissively. The weak one should adapt or leave. This is an academy for the elite. And you, Tyler, the principal continued. While your intentions seem noble, carrying another student everywhere is unusual and draws unwanted attention. Tyler's jaw tightened. So I should just let her miss class because someone keeps stealing her wheelchair? Perhaps if everyone simply focused on their studies, these conflicts would resolve themselves. Kira spoke up, her voice trembling but determined. They destroyed my wheelchair yesterday. Completely melted it down. I saw them do it. I reported it. Nothing happened. The principal sighed. Proving intent is difficult. Without witnesses willing to testify. I'll testify, Tyler interrupted. The Krathens have certain, cultural protections. Disciplinary action could create diplomatic incidents. Tyler stood up. Got it. So basically, they can do whatever they want, and you won't do anything about it. That's not what I said. But it's what you meant. Tyler looked at Kira. Come on. We're done here. As they left the office, Tyler was already making plans. If the administration wouldn't help, he'd have to solve this problem himself. The human way. The day after the useless meeting with the principal, everything came to a head. Tyler arrived at the usual meeting spot to find Kira sitting on the ground, her face streaked with tears. Around her lay twisted pieces of metal and melted components. Her wheelchair, what was left of it anyway, had been completely destroyed. This wasn't hiding it or breaking apart. This was total annihilation. Someone had taken it to the engineering lab and used industrial torches to melt it into an unrecognizable lump of scrap. Tyler knelt beside her, his hands clenching into fists. They did this. Kira nodded, unable to speak. This wasn't just about mobility anymore. That wheelchair had been custom-built for her physiology. It had taken months to make and cost more than most families earned in a year. Her parents had saved for 2 years to buy it. A crowd was gathering. Students whispered and pointed. Some looked sympathetic. Others looked away, uncomfortable. And standing at the edge of the crowd, barely containing their laughter, were Vex and his crew. Tyler helped Kira onto his back and stood. He walked straight toward Vex, his face completely calm. The crowd parted nervously. You've got something to say, human? Vex asked, his voice dripping with mockery. Yeah, actually. I challenge you. The courtyard went dead silent. Challenging a Krathen was serious business. Their entire culture revolved around combat and honor. Once a challenge was issued, it had to be answered. Vex's eyes gleamed with anticipation. Finally. The prey grows teeth. I accept. We fight in the arena tomorrow at sunset. When I'm done with you, they'll need a medical pod to put you back together. Not that kind of challenge, Tyler said. Vex's smile faltered. What? I'm not stupid. You're bigger, stronger, and you've got claws. I'd lose a straight fight in about 30 seconds. So we do it my way. We compete in something humans are actually good at. You cannot dictate terms to me. Sure I can. On Earth, when someone issues a challenge, they get to choose the competition. You can accept my terms, or you can refuse the challenge. Your choice. But if you refuse, everyone here will know that the great Vex was afraid to compete with a human on equal footing. Vex crew hissed and growled. Refusing a challenge was shameful in Krathen culture. But accepting terms from someone they considered inferior was also humiliating. Vex was trapped, and he knew it. Name your competition, human. Tyler set Kira down carefully on a bench and walked to the center of the courtyard. An endurance run. We both carry weight equal to Kira. We run the academy perimeter track. First person to quit loses. Winner gets to set one rule that the loser has to follow for the rest of the year. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. It sounded simple, but everyone knew the academy track. It was 2 miles around, with hills and stairs built into the course. It was designed to challenge students from high-gravity worlds. Vex laughed, a harsh barking sound. You want to race? Krathens are apex predators. We've hunted prey across continents. This will be over in minutes. Then you've got nothing to worry about. Tomorrow at noon, main track. Bring your running shoes. I don't need shoes to crush you. Vex leaned in close. When I win, my rule will be simple. You and every other human leave this academy. Your species doesn't belong here. Tyler didn't flinch. And when I win, you and your crew leave Kira alone. Forever. You don't talk to her, don't look at her, don't even think about her. Agreed. Prepare to be humiliated, human. As Vex and his crew left, the crowd erupted in conversation. Tyler helped Kira back onto his back. Are you insane? She whispered. Krathens are built for running. They can sprint at 40 miles per hour. For about 30 seconds, yeah. Then they need to rest. Tyler started walking toward his next class. Trust me on this. Word spread through the academy like wildfire. By dinner time, everyone knew about the challenge. Students were already placing bets. The odds were heavily in Vex's favor. Some were giving Tyler 10-1 odds, and still, nobody was betting on him. That night, Tyler's human friends found him in the gym. Ashley, along with 2 other Earth students named Derek and Maya, watched him doing what looked like very light exercise. Dude, shouldn't you be training harder? Derek asked. This is happening tomorrow. Tyler smiled. I am training. I'm making sure I stay loose and don't overwork my muscles. The last thing I need is to cramp up mid-race. You really think you can beat him? Maya asked. Yeah, I do. Look, Krathens are ambush predators. They're built for explosive speed and strength. Short bursts of incredible power. But humans? We're pursuit predators. Back on Earth, our ancestors would pick an antelope and just follow it. Not chase it, follow it. 4 hours. Sometimes days. The antelope would run away, we'd walk after it. It would rest, we'd keep walking. Eventually, the antelope would literally collapse from exhaustion, and we'd walk right up and finish it off. Ashley shook her head. That's actually horrifying. It's effective. Humans have the best endurance of any predator on Earth. We can run marathons in heat that would kill most animals. We cool down by sweating, which is incredibly efficient. Our tendons store energy like springs. We're literally designed for this. But Vex doesn't know that, Derek said, catching on. Nope. He thinks this is about speed. It's not. It's about who refuses to quit. And trust me, I'm not quitting. The next day, the entire academy gathered at the track. Hundreds of students from dozens of species lined the course. Some teachers showed up too, curious about the outcome. Even the principal attended, looking concerned about the whole situation. Vex arrived with his crew, looking confident. His muscular legs and powerful build made him look like he could run through a wall. He wore minimal clothing, showing off his scales and physique. Tyler showed up in simple running clothes, looking completely average by comparison. He was stretching quietly, staying focused. A Tyrellian student had prepared 2 weighted vests, each calibrated to match Kira's weight. They strapped them on. Tyler adjusted his, making sure it sat comfortably. Vex barely seemed to notice his. The track marshal, a neutral Severian teacher, explained the rules. You'll run the perimeter track. No shortcuts, no sabotage. First to verbally quit or collapse loses. Understood. Both nodded. Take your positions. They stood at the starting line. The crowd pressed in close. Kira sat in the front row, her hands clasped nervously. Tyler caught her eye and winked. She managed a weak smile back. The marshal raised his hand. On your mark. Get set. Run. Vex exploded forward like a missile, his powerful legs eating up distance with terrifying speed. Tyler settled into a steady jog, his breathing controlled and rhythmic. By the time Tyler completed his first lap, Vex was already finishing his second. The crowd was cheering for the Krathen, impressed by his raw speed. Some students were already laughing at Tyler's slow pace. But a few observers, mostly the humans and some of the more experienced athletes, watched with interest. They noticed Tyler's form. The way his breathing never changed. The efficient movement of his legs. The light sheen of sweat already forming on his skin, cooling him down. This wasn't a sprint. It was a war of attrition. And the real race was just beginning. Lap 3, and Vex was still maintaining his blistering pace. His powerful legs pushed him forward with mechanical precision. The crowd cheered every time he passed, amazed at his speed and power. He was everything a Krathen warrior should be, strong, fast, dominant. Tyler maintained his steady jog. His pace hadn't changed at all. Same rhythm, same breathing pattern. Sweat was flowing freely now, cooling his body efficiently. His shoes hit the track with a consistent tempo, almost meditative in its repetition. By lap 5, something started to change. Vex's breathing was getting heavier. His steps, while still fast, had lost some of their explosive power. The weighted vest that he'd barely noticed at the start was beginning to register. His species wasn't built for sustained effort like this. Tyler's pace remained identical. His human cardiovascular system was doing exactly what millions of years of evolution had designed it to do. His heart pumped efficiently, his lungs processed oxygen with practiced ease, and his sweat glands kept his core temperature stable. He looked like he could do this all day. Some of the smarter students in the crowd were starting to realize what was happening. The humans watching weren't cheering wildly. They were just nodding knowingly, small smiles on their faces. They'd seen this before. Maybe not this exact scenario, but they understood the principle. Lap 7. Vex's form was deteriorating. His breathing came in harsh gasps now. The weight on his back, which had seemed trivial at first, now felt like it was doubling every few minutes. His powerful leg muscles, designed for short explosive bursts, were screaming at him. Lactic acid was building up faster than his body could process it. Krathen physiology was incredible for hunting. They could sprint after prey at incredible speeds, catch it in seconds, and deliver a killing blow. But their muscles were primarily fast-twitch fibers. Perfect for power, terrible for endurance. Tyler ran past him on this lap. Not because Tyler had sped up, but because Vex had slowed down. The crowd's cheering faltered, confused by what they were seeing. "Keep going," one of Vex's crew shouted. "You're a Krathen warrior." But biology doesn't care about pride or warrior culture. Vex's body was hitting its limits. Lap 9. Vex's steps were uneven now, almost stumbling. His reptilian face showed something the crowd had never seen before, desperation. He was genuinely suffering. His crew had gone quiet, watching in disbelief as their champion faltered. Tyler passed him again, and this time he glanced over. "You can quit anytime," Tyler said, not mockingly, just stating a fact. "No shame in knowing your limits." Vex snarled and tried to speed up, but his legs wouldn't respond. The explosive power was gone. He was running on empty, and his body knew it. Halfway through lap 10, Vex's legs gave out. He collapsed onto the track, his chest heaving, unable to continue. His crew rushed forward to help him, but he pushed them away, humiliated. Tyler completed his 10th lap and kept going. 11. 12. He wasn't showing off, just proving the point. His pace still hadn't changed. His breathing was elevated but controlled. He looked tired, sure, but not destroyed. Not broken. Finally, he stopped at 15 laps and walked over to where Kira was sitting. The crowd was absolutely silent, trying to process what they just witnessed. The unbeatable Krathen warrior had been defeated by a human who just refused to stop. Tyler unstrapped his weighted vest and knelt down. Kira climbed onto his back without a word. He stood up easily, as if he hadn't just run 30 miles with extra weight. He walked over to where Vex was still on the ground, surrounded by his crew. The Krathen looked up with a mixture of anger and confusion. "Our deal stands," Tyler said calmly. "You and your friends leave Kira alone. Forever. And maybe think about picking on someone your own size from now on." Vex wanted to argue, wanted to fight, but he had nothing left. He'd been beaten fairly, in front of everyone. In his culture, that meant something. He nodded once, a tiny movement, but it was enough. The principal stepped forward, finally forced to acknowledge what had happened. "The challenge is concluded. The terms will be honored." He looked at Vex sternly. "And there will be no retaliation. Any further harassment will result in immediate expulsion." Over the following days, something shifted at Galactic Academy. Students looked at humans differently now. They'd always been dismissed as the average species, nothing special. But what Tyler had demonstrated was that humans had their own kind of strength. Not the strength to overpower, but the strength to endure. To persist. To simply refuse to give up. Other species could beat humans in a sprint, a fight, a test of raw intelligence. But when it came to just keeping going, to pushing through when everything hurt and your body begged you to stop, humans had everyone beat. Kira got a new wheelchair, better than her old one. The school actually paid for it this time, embarrassed by how badly they'd handled the situation. But she still let Tyler carry her sometimes, just because they'd become genuine friends. The humans at the academy started walking a little taller. They'd proven something important, they belonged here. Maybe they weren't the strongest or the smartest, but they had something just as valuable. They had heart. They had determination. They had that weird human quality of looking at an impossible situation and thinking, "Yeah, I can probably deal with that." Ashley started a human culture club, teaching other species about Earth. Students were fascinated to learn about marathon runners, about persistence hunting, about how humans had literally walked their way to the top of their food chain. About how they'd survived ice ages and plagues and wars by just stubbornly refusing to go extinct. Vex and his crew kept their distance from Kira. The humiliation of losing to a human had knocked them down several pegs socially. Some of the other Krathens at the academy actually approached Tyler to ask about human endurance training. They were warriors, and warriors respected strength in all its forms. One afternoon, a few weeks later, Tyler and Kira were sitting in the cafeteria. She was working on a new art project, painting landscapes from different planets. Tyler was helping her mix colors. "Can I ask you something?" Kira said suddenly. "Sure. Why did you really do all this? And don't give me the thing about your mom raising you right. There's more to it." Tyler was quiet for a moment, thinking. "Back on Earth, before we joined the galactic community, we had this phrase. 'I am my brother's keeper.' It means we're responsible for taking care of each other. Not because we have to, but because that's what makes us human." He looked at her directly. "Every species out here has their thing. Krathens have strength. Torellians have intelligence. Severians have diplomacy. But humans? Our thing is that we look out for each other. Even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. That's not weakness. That's our superpower." Kira smiled, her skin shimmering with the soft colors that meant contentment in her species. "Earth sounds like a nice place. It has its moments. Lots of things trying to kill you, but the people are pretty great." Tyler grinned. "You should visit sometime. I'll show you the Grand Canyon. And I promise, no one will steal your wheelchair." Around them, the cafeteria buzzed with the usual chaos of hundreds of species trying to coexist. But at their table, two unlikely friends sat together, proof that sometimes the strongest bonds aren't formed through power or dominance, but through simple kindness and the stubborn refusal to let cruelty win. The galaxy was learning about humanity, one small act at a time. And the lesson was clear: never underestimate a species that survived by simply refusing to quit.